Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Valerie Greene. She is a relationship mentor, author, speaker, and she helps women to inspire their man to fulfill their deepest needs and desires. Welcome to the show, Valerie.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's I've had the first part of my life a big struggle with relationships, and then of course I became an expert, and now I'm here to shorten the learning curve for everybody else.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Valerie. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to discuss right now. We'll learn about secrets for lasting love and commitment. That's a lot of people always look for in relationships. So we'll talk about that. And then you talked about yourself. So let's understand a bit more about you, about your journey, about your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Yes, thank you. So just my journey in a nutshell, because a lot of times my interviews go like an hour, so I know 20 minutes. Let's try to shorten it. So basically, my parents were very, very loving, but my dad had a very confrontational communication style. And so I grew up just arguing incessantly with him. And that's just how I learned to communicate. It's just blame and criticism and defensiveness and all of that. And of course, then when I got into relationships, I happen to be lucky that I've always been good at attracting quality relationships. But then after in my 20s and early 30s, it couldn't last more than a couple of years because it would start out with a lot of passion, but then that would quickly devolve into never ending arguments. And then, or we would just be distant like roommates. And there was one night when I was sleeping in separate beds and, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Please help me. And so I did my first coaching training in 2005. And, if you want to look at my website, you can see I have like 20 different certifications because it really did take all of that training to use in my own relationships as well as with my coaching clients for the past 20 years in order for me, because I'm kind of a recovering perfectionist, to feel like I'm an actual expert. And when I applied all of the tools that I was teaching to my clients, then they had breakthroughs in their intimacy, and my single clients started attracting the right kind of partner for them. And so long story short, when I met my now husband, he also didn't want to get married. And so that's what allowed me to learn all the teachings that I wrote in my book, The Commitment Roadmap, as to how to inspire someone to commit. And through applying all of those, and it's not manipulation, it's authenticity, really truly learning the secrets of how to inspire a man, which, I consider to be my signature teachings. And then after a couple of years of dating, he said, "You've so beyond blown away my doubts about committing to you, like a bulldozer over matchsticks." And so I was like, wow, that's a cool metaphor. Can I quote you on that? And so then I wrote my book, The Commitment Roadmap, to really shorten the learning curve for the single women who don't know how to inspire. Sorry. I mean, I don't want to, it's not your fault if you don't know the secrets of inspiring a man, because I was raised in the 80s where I was taught that men and women are the same and we're equal, but we're very different. And so I had to learn the secrets of how to inspire a man in order to inspire my husband to want to get married. I mean, he wanted to be with me anyway. But inspiring commitment is an art. And so that's what I teach now too. So it's been a long journey for me, but now I'm actually happily married. So I'm here to shorten the learning curve for everyone else.
Absolutely, Valerie. Absolutely. And we'll come to the book you mentioned about. We will come to that, about the commitment roadmap. So we'll come to that. But first, to understand better, you talked about inspiring. So whose job is to inspire? Is it both persons' job to inspire each other, or is it a woman's job much more to inspire the man? How does that work? Is it for only marriage, or is it for beyond that? How should women look at inspiring the person, the man in their life? I want to understand that, because it's a very different cultural thing, but I want to understand the way you understand it.
It is, yeah. And I'm not as familiar of the culture in India around masculine feminine dynamics. But I do not believe in shoulds. I don't want to should on anyone, as I say. So I don't look at it as like whose job is it, because that occurs as an obligation. But what I teach is there's two ways in order, and this applies to both men and women. It's not gender specific, although my teachings overlap with the differences between most masculine energy men and most feminine energy women, because different things motivate us. And it's just about learning what motivates men and women differently. But that aside, I can get to that in a minute, because I don't believe like it's one person's job to inspire the other person. That's kind of codependent, in my opinion. But there, like when we get into romantic relationships, there's a honeymoon phase. And in the beginning, they can do no wrong. Right. And this applies to both men and women. And then inevitably, when the honeymoon phase wears off, it's hormonal. Then we notice things that we don't like and things we want to change about the other person. And so there's two ways to try to change another person. One way, which is what I learned in my childhood, is by manipulation and cajoling and making the other person wrong and blame and criticism. And that does not work, because that's not coming from love. It's actually coming from fear. Versus coming from love is about, first of all, inspiring myself, which instead of looking at what I don't want, and this actually really overlaps with the law of attraction. What you focus on, you get more of. So if you criticize the other person, you're going to bring out their defensiveness, and they're going to dig their heels in and be more of the way you don't want, usually. But if I'm inspired, let's say, for example, one of the things that me and my husband do argue about is time, because we're both very busy. And, so I could tell him, you don't make enough time for me. And then he's going to get defensive. Well, don't you understand that I'm doing the things for us? And then we'll be arguing. Right. But if I'm inspiring myself, I'm asking myself, what does quality time provide for me? When was the last time that I remember experiencing closeness with him? It takes courage, but if I could be vulnerable with the positive feelings that I have, what it provides for me is this sense of togetherness, and I'm not alone, and we are, just feeling connected, and that actually gives me energy to take into the rest of my day. Then I'm inspiring myself. And if I approach him with that attitude, and this applies to both men and women, because, women don't like to be criticized either. But like I said, there's different things that motivate men and women. So men are usually motivated by accomplishing goals or solving problems. And so if I bring my vulnerable feelings to him, and I think that he's going to want to solve the problem rather than listen to me, then I have to preempt him by saying, hey, I just want to feel heard. I don't need you to change anything or solve the problem, and then he'll want to provide that. Whereas women usually feel motivated by feeling loved and cherished and adored. And so if he was to approach me and say, I just miss feeling close to you, that would inspire me more than me approaching him and saying, I miss feeling close to you. Of course, would inspire him because he likes feeling close to me. But if I say, the last time that you provided us with time to feel close, the last time you made time in our schedule, I just felt so taken care of, that motivates him more, just because he's a very masculine man and he loves solving problems. But I think that masculine feminine energy is not as important as inspiring ourselves with the beauty of what I call intimacy, which is emotional intimacy. So judgment and blame and criticism and defensiveness and stonewalling, to name, more than the 4 horsemen that John Gottman talks about, are going to lead to arguments. Whereas going deeper within myself and inspiring myself with the positive feelings that I'll get when the desire that I have is met, then obviously I bring that to him and then he's going to want to create that with me. So I honestly think that's both people's jobs in order to avoid an argument, because they say that it takes two, right? You can't blame it on the other person. It's both people's jobs to go inward and be inspired about what we want rather than blame and criticism about what we don't want.
Absolutely. It takes two to tango and also two to fight. So,
but it's work. Like, I want to acknowledge that it's work to go inward. It's not work to blame him because that's my programming, you know? So it's like, I'm acknowledging that, like, even I, just because of my programming, usually start off in my head with a blaming voice, and then I have to translate inside myself.
Right. Right, Valerie. So let's understand this a bit better. You talk a lot about successful women and not, finding the right partners. Why is it that if I don't want to generalize it, but several successful women, they are not able to find the right partner which they want to say as right? Is it the success which is blinding that emotional side of theirs? What is it, and how can they correct it for themselves? And is it that they find the right partner but they are not able to look at the right things? They are looking at things that are different, and they need to calibrate those. Rather, that is not happening, and it is making them walk away from each other.
Yes, exactly. I actually think it's both. There's two main reasons why it is a phenomenon, at least in the West. I don't know how it is in India, but that women that are very successful in their careers, I mean, in fact, I think there's actually three reasons why it's so hard for them to find a compatible partner. And the first reason, which we are all familiar with, is that in order to focus on a career, it takes work and focus. And so they tend to defer seriously dating until they're in their 30s. And then that put pressure. I mean, they have to put pressure at that point, just because the time is running out. And I have a lot of empathy for that situation, because that's not a woman's fault, if she's passionate about her career. But at the same time, pressure is masculine energy. So that's the second reason. Here, I'm going to take a drink. My herbal tea. So the thing is that masculine and feminine energy is not gender specific. Even same-sex couples usually have one partner that wants to be more feminine energy, more masculine energy, and everybody has both inside of us. I'm in my masculine energy right now because I'm trying to communicate a point. And we all have to be at our masculine energy at work. And the problem is that if both people are in their masculine energy in a relationship, then you butt heads. And that causes a lot of arguments, and it causes the loss of passion. And so that's the main reason why I see a lot of successful women date men that are compatible with them, but it just doesn't work out because you're both in your masculine energy. So the third reason, yes, is like really like you said, that we might be looking for someone to match our level of success rather than somebody who's just really masculine, who can make us feel taken care of, not necessarily financially. Like he might, I think a lot of women look at, I want a guy with an advanced degree. I want a guy who has a lot of financial success, when what would really make us happy is a guy who just knows how to lead. I know that you did another interview that I listened to about masculine presence. If a guy has enough masculine presence, then, and obviously he needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet. You don't want someone like a fixer-upper, someone who you have to rescue. But that's the third reason. But I want to talk, because that's about identifying your values and your emotional needs, and making sure that the guy that you're dating has, of course, he needs to be successful enough to be able to afford the lifestyle that you want to have together, but he doesn't have to be making more money than you if he can meet your emotional needs and shares your values and vision. That's the third reason. But the second reason I think is more important, which is masculine, feminine energy. So you can kind of think about it because like I'm in my masculine energy right now, right? So it's about being balanced within ourselves and then choosing in the moment what is most effective to make me happy, to actually make me feel open-hearted, to have that into me see. So masculine energy is proving a point, solving a problem, analyzing, making decisions, moving forward in action, and providing. You can kind of look at like the masculine partner is like the captain of the ship, but then the feminine energy is everything else. It's the weather, um, and the sea. And so feminine energy is about not trying to accomplish things, just being in the moment and feeling our feelings and looking at what we intuit, not what's logical, but what is our intuition and what are our feelings and our emotional needs, and our physical body, and is it in balance, and really being in harmony with the seasons. Like we have the menstrual cycle, like the tides, so we're very impacted by the natural rhythms of our cycle, and it's receiving and then being open-hearted and sharing our positive feelings. And there's this really beautiful dance because, like I said, what motivates most masculine men is being successful. And so most men, and if they're in masculine energy, and I want to say some men are more feminine energy, they're more artists and musicians and creative types, and there's nothing wrong with that. And of course there's men that are there's men that are all genders now that identify as transgender men, and some of them have more feminine energy, and that's great. I celebrate all of it. I'm talking about, because I still think the majority of the population, and I don't think that we should be like the majority, but the majority of the population, if you're authentic, that's what I value, is authenticity. That masculine men want to make a woman happy, and what they want in response to that is not for her to give back with actions. He wants her to give back with sharing her positive feelings. And so that he feels successful in making him happy. I mean, in making her happy, and then she feels like he cares about her feelings. And that is something that we choose to do because it feels good. It's not like I'm pigeonholing people, that men should be one way and women should be another way. But in my experience, when I'm in my feminine energy, if I want to be with a guy who's more successful than me in life, meaning that he is more ambitious and he's more accomplished and he's, this kind of alpha male, which is what a lot of successful women want. They want a man who's more successful than she is because that makes her feel met. Then we need to learn how to switch into our feminine energy, because a guy like that is going to want a woman who's sensual and intuitive and feeling oriented to balance out all his masculine energy. So he won't be attracted to somebody who's in their masculine. So we need to learn the art of switching into feminine energy when we get home from work, or if we work from home like I do. I need to take breaks to do yoga and to dance and to drop into my feelings in order to get into my feminine energy. And in my book, in my online course, I have a list of activities that work for me and my clients to get into feminine energy. And I know there's a lot of feminine energy teachers out there that teach that, but it's dropping so like, for example, how to say something in a masculine way is like, well, I want to go to this restaurant and I want to meet at this time, which is not bad, right? It's a real, like, if we didn't have that, we couldn't survive in the world, right? But a masculine energy person would just feel not attracted to that energy, as opposed to like learning how to speak from feminine energy. You might have a desire for that restaurant. That's great, but it would be more voicing that in a feeling oriented way, saying like, I love eating in this restaurant. This is how it makes me feel to eat in this restaurant. What do you think? that I'm like a feeling oriented person. Of course he's going to want to go there then. And this isn't manipulation. It's allowing yourself, if you check in with yourself and you're a feminine energy person, because most of the women I coach are, that feels better to you. It might not feel natural because we're not taught to talk that way, but to say, this feels good to me. I feel good when I'm there. Like, that actually feels better to say rather than like, this is what I want. You might feel more powerful, but in my body, if I say, this is what I want, like, it actually makes me feel more tense in my body because I'm very feminine energy. And so it's about learning how to tell how things make me feel, so that I'm happy. If I'm like, yes, it feels really good to be in this restaurant, like, it feels better for me to say that. But if I was a masculine energy person, that probably occurs as frivolous to talk like that. Like, I would just be like, I want to go to this restaurant. That's a more masculine energy response. And it's not about just nitpicking our communication. It's about learning how to feel our feelings and express our feelings, and then express our unpleasant feelings in a way that's not making him wrong when we want something different.
Right.
So,
Right.
kind of like I said in the beginning.
Right. One more thing, very quickly, if you can tell us about the emotional connection. Women tend to look at more emotional connection. Men understand it, but and they are ready to provide that. Also, they are the provider in the masculine energy, whatever way we want to. Where does the communication go wrong when women want that emotional connection? Men is ready to give that emotional connection, but that communication does not happen, and the men, he gets, he himself, either he feels pushed away, or he pulls himself away. How should women, especially successful women, take this part of look at this part of communication, and what should men also should try and understand in this particular thing?
Yes. Wow. I have a lot of nuances to that answer. In fact, one of the free gifts on my website, it's called the Manifest Lasting Love e-guide. And so that's under the free ebooks, on my website. I give a 5-step formula with a template in there for women, how to share your feelings in a way that inspires a man to give you that emotional support. Because I think, and we'll take somebody like my husband who, bless his mom, she really was very emotionally available. And so he is too, he learned that from her. And so when I say I want emotional support, he knows how to give it. So let's say it's that kind of man, but a lot of men don't know how to give it. They need to be taught. But we'll start with somebody who, like my husband, who knows. There's several things that might prevent him from being able to give it to me. So first of all, it's if I share my feelings in a way that's making him wrong, because that triggers him and then he gets defensive as his reaction. Or other men don't get defensive, they withdraw, or get dismissive, like, go talk to me when you have something positive to say. I'm not saying that this is all men or anything. I think that there's really evolved, emotionally available men out there. And I think that both men and women can be emotionally intelligent or not emotionally intelligent. It's a skill. So if I say, like, you didn't do the dishes and you're supposed to, I'm actually expressing a feeling indirectly, but even if I say, I feel really disappointed that you didn't do the dishes, I'm sharing my feelings, but I'm making him wrong. Then he's going to get defensive, and he's probably not going to be able to give me emotional support, because he's probably going to be like, do you understand all the other things I was doing that were more important? And then we'll be arguing. But so it's learning how to, first of all, validate the reason why he didn't, because there is a positive reason why he didn't. That disarms his defensiveness. And then learning how to, like I said, talk about what I want instead of what I don't want. Because I might feel disappointed. I might share that feeling. But if I'm blaming him, then he's going to get defensive. So it's about, hey, I totally get that there are a lot of things that are more important than the dishes, and that's why you didn't do that. And that makes sense, right? I'm validating him first. And I feel disappointed because what I want is to feel like we have mutuality, and we, that I'm really busy too, and I work really hard, and I totally understand that it's the last thing on your to-do list, and maybe we could brainstorm solutions as to how it can get bumped up. Maybe I can take something else off your plate. I don't know. But I feel really disappointed if I walk over to the drawer and there's literally no clean forks and I'm running late. Like, that doesn't really work for me. I need functionality. Can we brainstorm solutions? Right. So
Right.
I'm not making him wrong, but I'm still sharing my feelings of disappointment.
Right. Right. So, Valerie, there is a lot of things to learn on about these things, and that is where I come to your book uh, about the commitment roadmap. Who is this commitment roadmap for? Is it for men? Is it for women? Successful women? How does
Yeah.
it work?
Yes. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any products or books. My online course and book are all for women. Although I do have a free video training on my website called 3 Steps to Stop Fighting and Start Connecting. And that's under the free tab on my website. That's for couples. So for the men out there, I apologize. Most of my products are for women only because most of my clients are women, but I actually always do have a few men in my practice as well, because I love all people. But yeah, so the commitment roadmap is my paid book. I have 3 free gifts, but there's I charge $9.97 for the commitment roadmap on my website. And it's basically 230 something pages, and it's for women who are single, but you could just be dating. I call it from the first date to a lifetime of love is the subtext. So, or subtitle. So, um, you could be newly divorced and not know how to wrap your mind around how to start dating again. Or you could be dating on apps and you're frustrated that you're just meeting guys that are incompatible. Or you could be single and dating, but the guys that you meet aren't really a match for you and you keep attracting the same wrong partners over and over again. Or you could be exclusive with someone, but you're talking about marriage or commitment and he's saying, I'm not ready for that, and you're feeling frustrated. So it's for really all of those stages. I walk women through the process. That's why I call it a roadmap. And I mean, when I say successful, why successful women are failing at love, what I mean is accomplished from masculine energy. So the book is not geared just towards women that consider themselves highly accomplished. I mean, that's very subjective. And I mean, I think that everyone's highly accomplished in some goal that you have set in your life. And that's one of the things that I do, is help people build their confidence when I work with them. But it's about women who are trying to find the right emotionally available and commitment friendly man to have a long-term relationship, to build a lifetime of love together. And for whatever reason, you're feeling frustrated that your efforts in that direction aren't working. And so I walk women through the process of clarifying your vision and values and your emotional needs and your triggers. And the first half of the book is the inner work, working through your limiting beliefs and discovering what your needs are. And then the second half of the book is the outer work, which is where you would start if you're already in a relationship. Although obviously, it can't hurt to make sure you're in the right one and you have all the skills. But the second half of the book is the communication. It's how to figure out what his resistance is to commitment and how to actually demonstrate that whatever he's scared of isn't going to happen with you experientially, and how to really be coming from feminine energy and talking in this inspiring way where you're really collaborating and creating a shared culture together that inspires both of you. And that, once you're able to do that, then I do have a section in the book, of course, that if you decide that he's just nothing is working, how to break up and grieve, because that's really important too. But my, of course, plan A is always, and I have a lot of testimonials on the sales page. If you want to go to that, it's basically just /commitment. CoachValerieGreene.com /commitment is the URL. You can see all the testimonials on there that, most women that I've coached and most women that have told me that they've loved the book really feel now that they're in a satisfying, committed, long-term relationship that makes them feel cherished and adored. So that is my mission.
Right. So for those people who want to learn more about you, more from you, about your book, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Thank you. Yeah. So it's CoachValerieGreene.com is my website. So that's CoachValerie. And then there's an E at the end of Greene, GREENE.com, CoachValerieGreene.com. And you'll see on the homepage, there's that free products tab. So I have 3 free gifts depending on whether you're single or the Manifest Lasting Love e-guide is about communication. So that's for women, whether they're single or in a relationship. And then I have that video training for couples. And then you'll see as well, I have the commitment roadmap on there. I call it the book. There's a book tab. But it's /commitment is the URL. And I do have a 30-day refund on the book as well. So it's, no risk. And I think I've probably had like maybe 1% of people that bought it for whatever reason, but 99% of people that bought it love it. So, that's why I feel confident in what I teach.
Right. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Yes, thank you.